Have you ever given quietly, yet felt like you were being taken advantage of? There was a phrase repeated every single day, harmless on the surface, but irritating enough to drive someone to the edge. And then, a kind-hearted woman almost did something even she never imagined herself capable of. It all began with a loaf of bread. Each day, the woman baked fresh bread for her family, the warm scent filling her cozy kitchen, crisp and golden. As part of her daily routine, she always made one extra loaf to give away to someone in need. She would place it on the outer window ledge, easy for any passing stranger to take. A hunchbacked man, ragged and quiet, became the regular taker of that bread. Not once did he offer thanks, not a word of gratitude, not even a glance of appreciation. Each day, he simply picked up the loaf and walked off, mumbling the same sentence under his breath. The evil we do stays with us. The good we do comes back to us. The next day, same thing. And the day after that, the same again. Day after day, the hunchback returned like clockwork, never missing a beat, never changing a word. At first, the woman felt satisfied, proud even, of her silent charity. But slowly, unease crept in like smoke from the hearth, stinging her conscience. She began to wonder, is he hinting at something? Is that meant for me? Does he think I've done something wrong? The more she heard it, the more it grated on her. Those words, which could have been words of thanks, now felt like barbs thrown at her heart, until one morning, overwhelmed and fuming, she whispered to herself as if passing a final sentence, "Enough, he won't come back again. I'll make sure of that." That day, she prepared the loaf as usual, but this time she laced it with poison. Her hands trembled as she placed it on the tray, but just as she was about to set it on the window ledge, something inside her froze. Her fingers began to shake. Her heartbeat turned erratic. What am I doing? The thought hit her like a slap. Panicked, she threw the poisoned bread into the blazing fire, and without hesitation, she baked another, fresh, clean, just like before, and placed it gently on the window ledge, as if nothing had ever happened. The hunchback returned. He took the loaf, just like always, and walked away, muttering the same familiar phrase, as if completely unaware of the silent battle raging within the woman, watching him from behind the door. The evil we do stays with us. The good we do comes back to us. She stood there in silence, her hands clenched tightly. What she didn't know was that this very phrase, repeated day after day, was about to teach her a lesson deeper than 1,000 sermons. But the true surprise was still on its way, and it wouldn't come from the hunchbacked man. That phrase of his kept echoing in her mind like a prophecy. What she didn't yet realize was that on this very day, fate had quietly prepared something unimaginable. For as long as she could remember, every morning, as she placed the loaf of bread on the window ledge, the woman would whisper a silent prayer, not for herself, but for her beloved son, who had gone far from home in search of work. Each time, with closed eyes and trembling lips, she would murmur, "May my son be safe and come home soon." But months had passed. No letters, no news, just silence. Her heart grew heavier with each day, filled with shadows of fear and unanswered questions. That afternoon, just as she finished preparing a humble meal, a knock sounded on the door, soft but urgent. She went to open it and froze. Standing before her was her son, thin, worn. His clothes were tattered, his face pale, exhausted, like someone who had barely escaped death. Before she could say a word, he collapsed into her arms, trembling like a child. "Mother, I made it home only by a miracle. I thought I'd never see you again," he went on to explain. When he was just a mile away from home, his body gave out. Starving, too weak to walk, he collapsed by the roadside, filled with despair, certain he would die there. But just then, someone appeared, a hunchbacked old man. Barely able to speak, the son begged him for something, anything. to eat. Without hesitation, the old man reached into his bag and pulled out a warm loaf of bread, placing it gently in his hands. "This is what I have every day," the man said, "but today I think you need it more than I do." The mother went pale. Her knees weakened. She had to lean against the doorway to keep herself from falling. Her eyes filled with horror. She remembered that very morning she had nearly placed a poisoned loaf on the ledge. If she hadn't thrown it into the fire, that loaf might have been the one her son received. And then the hunchback's words returned once more, not just as a phrase, but now as a profound awakening. The evil we do stays with us. The good we do comes back to us. A small like means a lot. It's a big motivation for me to keep sharing meaningful stories. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you won't miss any upcoming messages of kindness and humanity. Thank you.